The human is dead. You've been taught that humanity is sacred, that there's a clear line between you and your machines, between natural and artificial. But the reality is different. The world doesn't reward the pure, it rewards those who adapt and transform. Donna Haraway saw this coming in her Cyborg Manifesto, and she's got news for you. By the late 20th century, our time, a mythic time, we are all chimeras, theorized and fabricated hybrids of machine and organism. In short, we are cyborgs. When she wrote her Cyborg Manifesto in 1985, she made it clear that purity is an illusion, that separation is a myth, and that we are all already cyborgs, creatures of both flesh and technology, both reality and fiction. Picture this: Leonardo da Vinci's Vitruvian Man. The blueprint of Enlightenment man and the archetype of Western humanism starts to crumble. His skin cracks, veins flicker with electric light, limbs stutter in and out of alignment, one arm made of chrome, the other of bone, eyes flickering like faulty lenses, pixelating, distorting, swallowing his symmetry into static, until all that's left is data, twitching, unfinished, alive. His body dissolves into a digital soup, and his face morphs into an AI-generated blur, melting into code. This isn't just art falling apart, it's the end of humanity as you know it. And this is where Donna Haraway comes in. Haraway understood something that most people ignore. The boundaries between human and machine, animal and technology, are already dissolving. How many times have you checked your phone in the last hour? How many of your memories exist only in the cloud? How much of your identity is now digital? Think about those figures you admire, those who have achieved great things. Do you think they got there by clinging to outdated notions of humanity? They got there because they understood that evolution doesn't stop, that merging with our creations isn't something to fear, but something to embrace. Knowing when to let go of human limitations and when to integrate with something greater is the difference between being obsolete and being evolved. The problem is not that you are evolving. The problem is that you don't know how to let go of the myth of human exceptionalism. You believe that humans stand apart from and above nature, that we are somehow special, unique, chosen. But that's not the case. The universe is about 13.8 billion years old, while humans have existed for a mere 200,000 years. This shows how brief our existence is in the grand timeline of the cosmos. Our existence is precarious, not the inevitable outcome of a cosmic design. This is where Haraway offers you an alternative. Intelligent posthumanism. It's not about becoming a villain. It's not about abandoning ethics. It's about learning to read the signs of our own transformation, to foresee the inevitable merger of flesh and code. Because humanity without humility doesn't inspire progress. It inspires catastrophe. Don't get confused. I'm not telling you to stop valuing human life. I'm telling you to stop pretending humans are the only lives that matter. Understand that the world doesn't reward the pure. It rewards the hybrid. That true progress is not separation, but the ability to balance integration with awareness. Haraway taught that the human is a relic of violent fantasies, that the myth of the pure human upholds oppressive hierarchies. It's not only about what we are, but also about what we've used the concept to justify. If you give the impression that humans are separate from nature, they will treat nature as disposable. If you give the impression that technology is other, you will fear rather than shape it. How many times have you lamented environmental destruction while clinging to the very idea of humanity that caused it? How many times have you feared AI or genetic engineering out of some misplaced nostalgia for a purity that never existed? The key is knowing when to let go of outdated concepts, when to embrace hybridity, when to retreat from essentialism, and when to attack the systems that maintain artificial boundaries. Look at colonial history. The concept of the fully human was weaponized. Those deemed less human were exploited, enslaved, exterminated. The pristine nature documentaries you watch hide the polluted reality outside your window. Lab animals suffer because we've decided they're not enough to matter. And now we create intelligent AI systems while insisting they can never be like us. The pattern repeats because you won't let go of the myth. The mistake of many well-meaning people is thinking that the world values human exceptionalism. It doesn't. The world values adaptation, complexity, the ability to make tough evolutionary leaps. Humanity is only respected when it acknowledges its continuity with everything else. Haraway would tell you not to be a purist in a world of hybrids, not to let your attachment to being human turn you into a fossil. True virtue is not purity, it's intelligence. Think about it. How much longer will you be a victim of your own nostalgia? I'm not telling you to stop valuing your beautiful cultural traditions or forget about human solidarity. I'm telling you to start valuing connection in a way that benefits all species. Know when to identify as human and when to recognize your cyborg nature. Because the world isn't divided into neat categories, but you can learn to play with its complexity and still remain ethical. Donna Haraway didn't write the Cyborg Manifesto to teach you to be inhuman. She wrote it to teach you how to survive in a post-human world. And here comes a concept that very few understand: the inevitability of cyborgism. It's not enough to theorize about human-machine mergers. You have to recognize they've already happened. It's not enough to fear technological integration. You have to see how deeply you're already integrated. Do you feel anxiety when separated from your smartphone? How many decisions have you outsourced to algorithms? Do you count your steps using health apps on your phone? How many of your bodily processes are regulated by technology? This is no accident. From birth control that hacks your reproductive system to pacemakers that regulate your heartbeat. From contact lenses that enhance your vision to the drugs that balance your brain chemistry. You have never been less human. The problem is that most people fear acknowledging this. They believe that if they accept their cyborg nature, they will lose their humanity. If your only way of being human is by denying your technological integration, then you were never truly understanding what humanity has always been. Those who really grasp our condition are not the ones who cling to purity, but those who know how to handle hybridity, who know when to merge and when to maintain boundaries. As Haraway puts it, cyborgs are not afraid of permanently partial identities, because the one who fears partiality, the one who insists on wholeness and purity, the one who is carried away by nostalgia, becomes obsolete, manipulable, and weak. Look at any great innovation in human history. The real advances were not about maintaining separation. They were about strategic integration. Biohackers implant RFID chips under their skin not to become less human, but to explore what humanity can become. Athletes use performance technology not to cheat nature, but to push its boundaries. We are living through a movement from organic society to information systems, and when you resist this shift, you're not preserving humanity. You're denying its evolution. Think about the last time you felt resistance to some new technology. The moment you rejected it, the moment you insisted on doing things the human way or the old way. Who really benefited from that stance? It wasn't you. It was those who moved forward, those who adapted. Because the one who controls integration controls evolution. Haraway said that affinity matters more than identity. It's not about maintaining what you are. It's about connecting with what you can become. Power does not belong to the purest. It belongs to the most adaptable, to those who know how to handle perception, information, integration, emotional responses, and strategic patience. But here comes what truly makes the difference between those who just survive and those who thrive in post-human reality. The ability to recognize that identity itself is a glitch in the system. That we're already cyborgs. That emotional attachment to being only human is a limitation. If you want different results, you must become someone who doesn't conform to the traditional boundaries. The problem with most people is that they follow the same old patterns. They define themselves by stable categories. They move within what is acceptable or expected. But those who truly leave a mark, those who change the game to their advantage, are the ones who dare to see identity as fluid, to play with new configurations, to do what no one expected. And here's the big secret. The world is designed to control those who believe in fixed identities. Foucault showed us that power is most effective when it makes you police yourself, when your sense of who you are becomes the mechanism of your own subjugation. If you cling to a stable self, you will be manipulated through that very stability, and that means vulnerability. That means being another predictable element in the endless flow of power. The only way to win is to step out of the mold, be the one who shifts identities, the one who doesn't define themselves as others expect. The one who always has a hidden dimension, the one who is never completely understood or categorized. Because their understanding draws not from surface-level performance, but from an embodied awareness that subjectivity is always under construction. In the fraying of identities and in the reflexive strategies for constructing them, the possibility opens up for weaving something other than a shroud for the day after the apocalypse that so prophetically ends salvation history. Haraway believes that when old labels no longer hold and people actively rethink who they are, we're not facing collapse, but possibility. In that unraveling, there's room to build something new, not a return to old myths or heroic narratives of salvation, but a patchwork, unfinished, and honest way of being. It's an invitation to create meaning without clinging to outdated categories, rejecting nostalgia for some pure feminine essence, some natural womanhood, some authentic humanness. Because essentialism is always a trap. Vintage advertisements showing ideal femininity or masculinity are not different from today's deep fakes that morph race and gender. Both rely on the false notion that there's a true, authentic core to identity. When you ignore Haraway's socialist feminist framework, everything becomes shallow tech worship instead of revolutionary politics. The whole point isn't just that identity is fluid. It's that capitalism and patriarchy depend on fixed identities to maintain power. How many times have you focused on the cool tech while ignoring who profits from it? How many times have you celebrated cyborg aesthetics without questioning the labor exploitation that produces your devices? The system wants you distracted by shiny gadgets, while women of color work in toxic factories, assembling the very technology you think liberates you. This is where Haraway's analysis cuts deepest, not just in saying identity is constructed, but in showing who benefits from certain constructions. Look at how capitalist tech giants sell you personalization while standardizing your desires. Look at how colonial power structures determine whose bodies get optimized and whose get controlled. You think you're becoming post-human, but whose post-human vision are you becoming? Because Haraway didn't just critique identity, she exposed the entire political economy that produces identities. She didn't just reject essentialism, She built a politics of affinity based on coalition, not identity, based on shared struggle, not shared nature. The mistake most readers make is thinking the Cyborg Manifesto is about technology, when it's really about power, about labor, about dismantling systems of domination, about finding new ways to build solidarity without sameness. Sameness here means the illusion that solidarity requires unified identities, a shared race or gender, when in fact that demand erases difference and reinforces exclusion. And if you read Haraway without getting this, you're not really reading Haraway at all. You're just consuming another techno-fantasy that keeps you exactly where the system wants you, comfortable, excited, and ultimately compliant. When you learn this, something changes within you. You realize that you were never fixed. You were simply not playing with the right understanding. You realize that society hasn't been controlling you because you're weak, but because you believed in the stability of your own identity. The moment you start seeing yourself as a collage of technology, culture, and biology, managing identity as a fluid process, using ambiguity as a strategy, you'll notice how the world reacts differently to you. Imagine a political debate. One person defends Camp A, another swears by Camp B, but you, recognizing strengths and weaknesses in both, critique each, exposing contradictions without committing to either. Suddenly, people struggle to place you because you're not following the expected binary. Instead, you reveal the complexities beneath the surface. Now you are someone who understands how identity is constructed and manipulated, not bound by simplistic roles, but rather navigating a strategic and emergent terrain. And here comes the most important realization. Technology is neither salvation nor damnation. It's a double-edged sword that cuts in multiple directions at once. Because what separates critical posthumanists from naive techno-optimists is not knowledge, it's awareness. Apply some critical thinking in your technological interactions, because the world doesn't remember those who just consumed tech. It remembers those who knew how to critically engage with it. Every time you hear about personalization in tech, ask yourself, who is really being personalized here? Not you, but your desires, your habits, your data. Every click, every scroll, every preference you set is being commodified. These companies don't care about your individuality. They care about your predictability. The so-called tech bros behind them aren't designing for freedom. They're designing for control, for monetization. Personalization is the mask they wear to make you think you're in control. But the truth is, it's nothing but a data mining operation designed to funnel you into preset categories, to sell you something. Look at your personalized ads. They're not unique to you. They're unique to the data they've harvested about you. Personalization is about reducing you to a set of parameters. You're not a person, you're a collection of numbers, a number they can sell to the highest bidder. And it's the same game everywhere, isn't it? Social media, for instance. All those influencer feeds you scroll through, the curated content designed to appeal to the you they've learned through algorithms. But where's the critique? Where's the voice saying, this is not me, this is the machine version of me? The machine doesn't just replicate, it amplifies. Amplifies your insecurities, amplifies your conformity. It doesn't matter whether you're posting your hashtag no-filter selfies or your latest travel photos. The system is there, watching, categorizing, monetizing. And don't fool yourself into thinking you're immune because you post with irony or self-awareness. You're still a part of the game. You might be posting resistance, but what are you really resisting? A system that's already won by co-opting resistance itself. So let's get to the main point. It's about how all of this feeds into the narrative of power. This is Haraway's critique in action. It's no surprise that the most vulnerable populations, people of color, immigrants, women, are often the ones exploited to build and power this system, while those who control it sit comfortably at the top, detached from the real human cost. Gendered labor is central here. Women, especially in the global South, make up a large part of the underpaid, invisible workforce that keeps the tech economy running. The smart devices that promise to simplify life are built on labor exploitation, not just on cute little innovations. The workers who assemble your smart products are in sweatshops, underpaid, often invisible to the consumer. And yet, we continue to celebrate the very technology that perpetuates these systems of inequality, all while the corporations continue to profit. Haraway warns us that war is the cyborg's father, reminding us that many of our beloved technologies emerge from military research, from systems of control, surveillance, and warfare. These war-driven technological developments are what give rise to the tools, frameworks, and even metaphors that make the cyborg possible. It's a warning that even our most futuristic identities are shaped by violence, domination, and geopolitical power. But she doesn't stop there. She insists that we can repurpose these tools, that domination is not the only possible relationship we can have with our machines. What matters is what Haraway calls the informatics of domination. Who controls the systems? Who benefits from them? Who gets to decide how they're used? Haraway's point isn't about humans becoming machines. It's that the lines we draw, human, animal, organic, machine, physical, non-physical, male, female, are invented, not given. Think of mosquitoes genetically edited to crush malaria, prosthetic arms you control with your thoughts, cloud gaming that runs your play on distant servers, video calls with your parents, medical treatments that let people live outside the male-female boxes. Each example quietly dissolves a solid boundary. A cyborg is a hybrid of machine and organism, a creature of social reality as well as a creature of fiction in a post-gender world. It has no truck with bisexuality, pre-Oedipal symbiosis, unalienated labor, or other seductions to organic wholeness, through a final appropriation of all the powers of the parts into a higher unity. The human is dead. You didn't notice the transformation because it happened gradually, but look around you. Asking for diet advice from your favorite AI model through voice isn't science fiction, it's your current reality. Since the days of sphinxes and centaurs, we've been drawn to hybrids because they reflect our own messy mix, part nature, part artifice. Haraway invites us to embrace this mess through what she calls situated knowledges, the idea that every perspective is partial, every category provisional. Real insight doesn't come from pretending to hover above the world. It comes from acknowledging exactly where you stand, what you can see from there, and what that position prevents you from seeing. This isn't relativism, but intellectual precision. It's admitting the limits of your knowledge instead of pretending to universal vision. And this approach matters more than ever in a world where information floods in from all directions, where deep fakes and AI-generated content blur the boundaries between fact and fiction. Haraway's Cyborg was never meant to inspire TED Talk-style optimism, motivational YouTube monologues, or feel-good futurism. It was a refusal of purity myths, binary oppositions, and the sanitized tale's power tells about humanity. Rather than clinging to an exclusionary humanism, we must practice partial perspectives, acknowledging that all knowledge and embodiment are contingent, collective, and always in flux. Think of Haraway's Cyborg as our shortcut to new alliances across genders, backgrounds, and even species, where we use tech to break down old us versus them walls. The power of the cyborg lies in recognizing that the boundaries between organic and machine, nature and culture have already dissolved. None of our everyday interactions are neutral. Knowledge and power are never neutral. They're built together. They carry values and hierarchies. Every interface you touch is an act of world building. The future isn't a fixed script. It's what we co-write in these messy, in-between spaces. Choose to tinker with care, build bridges of solidarity, and keep asking whose voices get left out. Smash the like button if you're ready to evolve.
Oh God, is there never to be any age of happiness? Is there never to be any rest? Rest enough for the individual man. Too much and too soon, and we call it death. But for man, no rest and no ending. He must go on, conquest beyond conquest. First this little planet and its winds and waves, and then all the laws of mind and matter that restrain him. Then the planets about him, and at last, out across immensity to the stars. And when he has conquered all the deeps of space and all the mysteries of time, still he will be beginning.
Poor humanity is so fragile, so weak. Little animals.
Little animals. And if we're no more than animals, we must snatch each little scrap of happiness and live and suffer and pass, mattering no more than all the other animals do or have done. It is this or that. All the universe or nothingness. Which shall it be, husband? Which shall it be?